And a good Monday morning, Quad Cities. It is Monday, March 9th, and it is 9:05. Welcome into a kind of bonus episode of Ask Andrew Live, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always an Ask Andrew. We always like to ask Andrew.
I suppose. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We're going to focus more on the severe weather threat coming in for tomorrow evening. Spend about the next 10, 15 minutes on that. And then, of course, we'll have your questions, too. So welcome in. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
And I'm weather anchor Peter Warner. It's a gorgeous day today.
I can't wait to get outside this
I know.
afternoon. Oh my goodness, I know the golf course back home in Sterling is open as of yesterday. So a lot of golf courses, I think, going to be taking that cue. Maybe getting some open today, maybe?
I should have taken PTO.
I know.
What the heck?
No kidding.
Oh, my goodness.
Very summer-like expected today. So we don't have to worry about any severe weather today, which is nice. We just get to enjoy the warmth.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, so get outside, enjoy it. Tomorrow, though, we can enjoy it during the day. It's during the evening where we're going to get ourselves into a little bit of trouble when it comes to our threat for severe weather. So that's our focus on this chat here for, again, the next several minutes. If you have a question, we can put it on our Facebook chat. I can see we've already got a couple in the group there. You can also text it to us, too. The number is 309-304-0888.
309-304-0888.
Yep, get them in. No question. You know, as long as it's weather related, we'll take it. So come on in. So let's see what the latest update is this morning. We'll talk about the weather impact alert first, the timing, and then we'll take you into the different elements and kind of break this down. So over the weekend, I believe Morgan first put this out yesterday morning, the weather impact alert, or was it Saturday morning?
Saturday morning.
Yes. Weather impact alert for later tomorrow. And remember, we started talking about this as early as the middle part of last week. In fact, I remember Ask Andrew last week, we talked about Tuesday.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while.
So we've had a big heads up on this. And now that we're closer, we're getting into the details. We're getting into all that information. So this is what we know. We have tightened up the timing. That's been very consistent, that it's going to be later Tuesday evening, say after 7 o'clock. Could it go perhaps to 3 a.m.? Yes, but right now I think the 7 to midnight window looks pretty good in terms of the severe storms. So we don't have to worry about school pickup time, school drop-off time. Those are fine. While most of us should be home by 7 o'clock, unless you're a late commuter, that's when you'd really want to keep an eye on the weather. But most of us by 7 o'clock, we're pretty much home, settled in and in for the evening. So that's when you really got to start tracking the storms with us once they develop. Did anything change with the storm zone this morning? Not really.
Not much, no. It looks like, did it shift maybe like a county up with the 3?
Yes, it came up just a little bit more, especially on the Illinois side. We didn't have that much into Lee County yesterday morning, or yesterday as a whole, but notice, this morning we saw that slow shift up to the north there, but emphasizing that this is definitely areas south and east of the Quad Cities that are going to see the highest risk of severe weather, unless by some, last minute change that warm front can lift even further north, which past precedent tells me it's not going to do.
No.
Cold Lake, Michigan limits that this time of year.
Yeah, we're getting that Great Lakes kind of outflow, not outflow, but reverse boundary almost in a way.
Yes.
That's really going to limit it. And it's dry air too.
Exactly. And the position of that warm front is going to be very critical as to where the tornado threat will be come tomorrow evening. Now, all of us will likely see storms. You notice the 2 out of 5 does exist, Quad Cities and further to the northwest. That's because there's a cold front that's coming in as well. So that could potentially bring some gusty storms, perhaps some hail, and of course a lot of lightning. But in terms of the tornado threat, definitely think that is south and east of the Quad Cities in that 3 out of 5 zone. And it's kind of an impressive one, too. If you look at the tornado threat, that is a 3.
That is a 3.
Out of 5.
Yeah. I mean, and we knew yesterday we got that 3 issued. And, one of the threats will be a 3 with that. Yeah. And it makes sense along the warm front. You're going to have the dynamics, enough moisture here, too, coming in out of the Gulf for these tornadoes to develop, but just a matter of where. Because it's these little bubbly supercells that we're getting off these warm fronts. We don't get those straight line events with those tornadoes. We're going to get those bubbly cells, and that's kind of where that boundary, it's a stationary boundary right now, that's going to kind of settle there is. And it's just going to kind of park itself there, allowing for that kind of juice to just keep on growing and growing and growing.
And it's going to be an impressive temperature change between either side of the front. And I'll show you that here in a moment with a run on Future Track. And anytime you have that kind of a setup, that's where our concern comes in with the tornado threat, because you get a lot of spin along that boundary. And if something can latch itself to it, like we saw in Michigan recently here, storm popped up ahead of the main line, latched onto the boundary, and dropped this rather strong EF3 tornado in southern Michigan recently.
Yeah, so that was a little bit surprising, but that's what you can get, these little discrete cells almost that keep on going.
Yeah, that can get you in trouble. So again, you notice a trend here. We're talking about areas southeast of the Quad Cities. That's where this higher potential, our greatest area of concern, is for tornadoes. Let's break down the wind threat. There you see, it's a 2 out of 5. And really, a lot of our hometowns are covered under the wind threat, which isn't surprising.
No.
A lot of moisture. You got some strong jet stream winds aloft, too, by the way.
I was going to say we have a mid and low level jet that are going to kind of combine perfectly here. It's just a matter of getting that to mix really with the surface air and get down with the thunderstorms.
Yeah, you got a good storm rooted in some of the ingredients, and you can definitely get that strong wind potential. So I'd say nearly almost every one of us have the wind thing going for us tomorrow, unless you're northwest of the Quad Cities. That's where the threat appears. It's going to be a lot weaker.
Yeah.
But the other thing that stood out, so the top 2 threats, according to the SPC, tornado and hail.
Yeah.
Big, big threat there.
I know. The updraft potential with this, I was looking at Helicity yesterday, is there. So definitely concerning. But it just depends on what size hail, too, with this. Because I know we got the conditional intensity groups that came out. And I don't think the hail size is going to be too significant here with this.
Yeah, this was, I think everything is still a level 1 at this point.
Still 1, yes.
Yeah, which means, we're talking about some EF0 to EF1 tornadoes. Hail potentially an inch, maybe a little bit larger than an inch in diameter, and then winds up to 60 miles an hour. Okay. Would we get an update to 2? A couple of people have been chatting about this. It's possible, but I think what the Storm Prediction Center is kind of thinking right now, based on what I've read, is there's a couple of what we call conditional things going on for tomorrow.
It's very conditional.
Do we get the storms develop, when we have the strongest wind energy, the strongest storm energy, or do they hold off until later? Does a warm layer of air come in, what we call a cap, that could inhibit storm development? So there's a couple questions yet that are kind of cloudy, if you will, that need to be answered. If it becomes more clear by tomorrow morning, then yeah, they would probably go ahead and do that, and then you would see that drawn on our maps here.
Yeah, but as of right now, I don't see it. And I will say, we'll go through the models. That cap potential is holding pretty well across the board on our models.
It is, yes. Especially the in-house really wants to keep the cap in place, which is an interesting solution. It's one of the only ones that's doing that out of the stuff that I've seen. So we'll see how that works out. Now, here is what I'm talking about with that big temperature difference tomorrow. And it looks like we've got another run that came in because the previous run had us at about 70 degrees, and then it had our southernmost hometowns closer to 80. And I still think that's possible tomorrow. I think if you're in Burlington, Galesburg, Monmouth, Macomb, you will likely approach 80 degrees tomorrow afternoon south of that front.
100%.
Yeah. North of it, though, we're not doing that. We'll be closer to 70, I think, here in the metro. North of that, 50s and 60s. But just look at the sharpness of this. That is a huge spread in temperatures over a small region. And look at what Lake Michigan is doing. That's what Peter was talking about with that backdoor front.
Yeah, backdoor fronts coming in. And what's interesting here, and it kind of puts into perspective the spin that you can get. I know it's kind of hard to see, but look at the wind directions right along that boundary, too. You got that north east wind coming in, mixing with that southeast wind, then winds aloft with this jet are going to be coming in due west to southwest to even northwest. So you have all sorts of spin in the atmosphere. It's just a matter of that developing. That's the big question is, will it develop? Because we have the ingredients there in terms of shear, but it's just a matter of, do these systems develop or does that cap hold in place?
Peter's exactly right. So if you pay attention here to the arrow that I'm going to draw, this is the wind direction coming up and over the front. And actually, that's a poor representation. I've got to change that.
That's a very light jet.
Why is it so skinny? I don't know what it's doing. Let's try a different method here. Maybe we can do...
I know the custom little... That one, that goes
maybe
into
a
red.
line. Okay.
It usually goes in red,
So wind's coming up and this way over the front, but you have to remember the upper level winds, higher up into the atmosphere at the top of these thunderstorms, are moving in this direction. So that's where you're getting this spin. And that spin is maximized for areas along the front. So just south of the Quad Cities, just south of Interstate 80, exactly where the Storm Prediction Center has that 3 out of 5 is where you're going to maximize the tornado potential heading into tomorrow evening.
Yeah. It's kind of classic setup for that.
It is, yep, and typical for this time of year.
Yep.
Very typical. Strong, very cold, we call cold air advection coming off of Lake Michigan. It kind of puts the stop or the brakes on the front, and they always seem to get hung up around Interstate 80. It's nothing about the interstate. It's all about Lake Michigan.
It's all about Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes backdoors. Because, I mean, they've even seen snow as of late in some portions of Wisconsin. So
they have, yeah.
No surprise that we're getting cold air funneling down here.
Yep, and that's going to be your setup for tomorrow. So that position of the warm front, which we'll have to track hour by hour literally, is going to be key where storms will form and be at their worst coming into later tomorrow evening. So I put this all on a timeline because everybody always asks, what is the window of opportunity here? And still I think right after 6 o'clock is when you quickly see that threat ramp up, maximizes itself between likely 7 and 10, and then will gradually diminish the threat heading into the late overnight hours. But this is everything on the table. Again, tornadoes southeast of the Quad Cities. The rest of you, it's a wind and hail threat. Tornado threat definitely maximizes itself further to the southeast.
Yes.
We can go through just a couple more parameters, then we'll take a quick scroll through Future Track, a couple of different models there. This is the rapid refresh. This is the tornado probability, or what they call the tornado parameter. You can see, absolutely, again, the further southeast of the Quad Cities you go.
Makes sense.
The more elevated you get. Could this sneak a little further north? Yes. Again, position of the warm front.
It's all dependent.
Yeah, but you can see that the majority of this is going to be especially south and east, and how quickly this wraps up by midnight, and it's gone.
The energy, storm energy, I know we talk about that a lot. It's been very consistent, peaking right around 5, 6, 7, and then dissipating, honestly, by 10 to midnight. It's pretty much gone for an extreme or strong cape that we're seeing in the atmosphere.
Yep. It also gives you, it's another indication of where that front is going to be. South of the front, you're going to have the higher storm energy.
Yep.
And you're going to have all of that storm energy. To the north of the front, that's where you're going to have the cooler conditions, and you're also going to see the potential for those storms to maybe ride that front. Ooh, we're not going to use that. That's an interesting looking front.
It does that every time with that front. I've had to just adjust it at this point.
It's weird. I don't know why it does that, but yeah, okay. So we'll draw the imaginary warm front probably right in here.
Yep.
So south of that, very warm, juicy, and what happens is the storms, they latch themselves onto the front. They feed in with all of this moist storm energy, and then with the cooler air coming in this way, that's where you get your spin.
Yep.
Right on the warm front itself. So you can see it's just south of, say, Princeton, south of Aledo, basically right on top of Monmouth, Galesburg, and Burlington.
I was going to say our Highway 34 is really just the best way to think of it. It's been consistent along that corridor on the Illinois side of the river.
Yep, I really like that layout, and I think that's exactly where things could start cooking as we get into tomorrow. Let's go through a couple of different scenarios here. We'll start with the in-house model, and what I'm going to do is this still has what we call an adjustment on it.
It does.
So what I've done is I've kind of moved up the timeline of what it was thinking was going to happen. I've also adjusted the areas which are covered here just to kind of align with some of the other data that I've seen from other models. So we're keeping tomorrow afternoon quiet. You will notice an increase in cloud cover. You will notice some showers start to develop, and that's because we're starting to get some lift from low pressure.
Yep.
But what Future Track is showing is a cap. It's not allowing these showers to develop into full-blown thunderstorms later in the afternoon. It's actually saving that process for a little bit later in the evening. In fact, I think I'm going to have to take the adjustment off because now this has moved even further to the north.
Yep.
And now I think it's too far north. So give me a second here. We're going to take that adjustment off. We'll go back to the raw data and see what happens. That's, kind of the give and take with getting multiple updates now.
Yes.
In the morning with these models, because now it updates and then our whole scenario gets thrown out the window.
Especially when sometimes there's going to be one run that has a big change once you get that upper level data in, which is what we're getting right now because we're just getting our 12Z or 0 and 12Z. We call it Zulu time is when we get the upper level dynamics from balloons and stuff come in. So that's when you can see those big shifts in the model runs, which is what we're seeing here. Exactly.
And the only thing I would disagree with on this is the timing. I think this is a little bit late. I would like to see this at, say, 7 o'clock. But it's got the right idea. You know, you're getting those what we call supercells, or those strongest storms, down to the south and east of the Quad Cities forming initially. And then the rest of us kind of have to wait until later in the night for more storms to come in right there.
Yep.
Getting into Wednesday morning. Those could have some gusty winds, some hail, but by then, you know, we're thinking the severe threat is pretty much wrapping up.
I agree.
Is concluding. But that's interesting that it doesn't have much coverage until 4 a.m. on the in-house model.
It's been somewhat consistent with that in a way. Yesterday, it pushed it up a little bit further north as of right around, I'd say, the midnight to 2 a.m. time frame along and south of Interstate 80, and then it had it shifting north through the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. time frame. This time, it's keeping, even as we get later into the afternoon, later into the event, early tomorrow or early on Wednesday morning, it's kind of keeping it all still along and south of Interstate 80. It's not really given much for our northern hometowns.
Yeah, it still has the theme. Again, area southeast of the Quad Cities. That has not changed with this. So that's the in-house. Told you we'd go through a few more here. Let's go to the rapid refresh because I believe we got a newer run of that in here.
12 should be in.
So it looks like we're going to be able to take a look at that. And it also has a similar scenario, but a little bit earlier. I like the timing on this better.
Timing is doing well, and the placement is actually pretty good here.
So you're seeing, let's zoom in and get some hometowns on here so you can see where your bearings are. So this again, kind of right down Peoria, Galesburg, Macomb, getting that activity quickly taking off and moving to the east. And
a couple bubbly ones follow,
Yeah, and then more of a rain and rumbles into.
What's it trying to throw in up there?
Oh, it's trying to throw some snow to the north.
I don't buy that.
Don't see much sticking with that.
No.
And I don't think we're going to see a rain-snow mix this far south, but
no.
It is showing good agreement that, we're talking about south of Interstate 80.
Yep.
Now, this one's even further south by a little bit more. But still, you get the general idea that we're focusing on areas south of the Quad Cities and south of Interstate 80.
It's been consistent.
Very, very consistent. I think the last one we can go to is the NAM, and it's always an interesting one to look at. And it probably won't load in for me because this happens every time I try to do this here. And
it comes eventually.
It eventually probably loads in. Should we give it the old 10-second countdown?
You can give her the 10-second countdown.
There it is.
There she is.
See, all you gotta do is threaten it and it comes in.
Oh, NAM. What are you throwing this time? Oh.
I just got a line like an actual bow echo coming in.
Yeah, on the cold front. It's got to be on the cold front,
Yeah, but not really much on the warm front.
Nada.
It also appears to be what we call capped.
Yep.
Just not having any luck.
An upper level inversion, a warm air loft.
Yep. So that, and again, that's one of the possibilities for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It all depends, like Peter said, the timing of the low. When do we get the cold air in the upper level of the atmosphere to come overhead to allow this warm air to lift, interact with the fronts, and boom, there's your thunderstorms.
And how high can it lift?
Yes. So that's what we're going to be tracking literally hour by hour as we go through tomorrow. So that's why we do all these extra streams. We're doing what we call, this data download or debrief, if you will, because we can't do this in 3 minutes on regular TV.
No.
This allows us to show you what we're looking at and what we're using, the raw data, to make our decisions with this forecast. So we get to take you guys along for the ride.
So it makes it fun, too, right? You get to see all the behind the scenes and the kind of model analysis.
Exactly.
You don't get anywhere else.
No, you don't. You really
Just
don't.
here.
And you also get to see why sometimes it can be a headache and why there's some uncertainty sometimes in the forecast.
Pain in the butt.
It can be, yes.
It can be.
But I'd rather everybody be prepared and ready for something. Even if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I think I would still count my lucky stars and say, you know what, we avoided another one.
Yes.
Because that's not going to be the case going forward. Eventually, we're going to have to deal with something significant coming in, and we're just getting started.
I was going to say, spring is here.
Yep, just getting started. So that's what we know right now. We do plan another stream, not at noon today, but we'll do another one with Chief Meteorologist James Hara this evening, 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Tomorrow is when you'll get a twofer in the morning, kind of.
Kind of.
If you count noon as getting into the late part of the morning. So tomorrow we'll do 9 o'clock and noon. The reason we'll do that is, 1, 9 o'clock will be our base establishment of the data that we have so far. But by noon, we'll get a brand new update from the Storm Prediction Center coming out hot off the press at 11:30. That will give us kind of that last minute, here's the last call for the forecast kind of thing.
Yep.
technically the last call will be the 3 o'clock outlook, but by 11:30, that's usually a big update.
That's the big one.
And you don't see too much change between 11:30 and 3.
No.
So that's why we'll do a noon tomorrow.
Yes.
To let you know what the latest outlook is and what we're seeing. And who knows, we could even have a weather balloon by then.
I
Maybe
mean,
we'll get a bonus.
I know our National Weather Service office, they're actually doing 18Z balloon launches every day right now.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yep. So they're doing 12 and 18, I believe,
That's awesome.
launches. They're not doing a 0, but they're doing 12 and 18, which I told them when I was doing my story there, I don't think we have any problem with going into severe season.
Gotcha.
18's honestly probably a lot better than a
Yeah.
0Z launch, because once you hit 7 p.m., which is 0Z now that we moved our clocks forward,
Yep.
a lot of the dynamics in the storms are probably already happened. Or have already happened.
They're passing
So
by.
18Z for us is a lot better, which is 1 p.m. now.
Yes. Good news.
We like it.
I'm thankful
Yes,
for
and
that.
they're holding that at least through the first part of the severe season.
Awesome.
Yes.
Love it, love it, love it. So that's what we know right now. Let's dive in the last few minutes here and see what we've got for questions,
Yeah.
and we'll get those answered as best as we can. If you have a question, make sure you're including your location too for reference.
Yes, if you ask for times and
Yep.
such. Chris and Kayla have a great one. I love this one. It's so funny watching weather Twitter discuss this.
Oh, yes.
Can you go very in depth on the importance of not parking under overpasses during severe weather and especially during tornadoes?
It's just not a smart thing to do. And
No.
I think the biggest risk that you have when you do that, especially if you're in a storm that's got blinding rain, you're setting yourself up for almost a guarantee of being rear-ended, potentially by something much larger than you, AKA a semi. Because most traffic is not going to expect traffic to be stopped under an overpass, most people anyway.
No.
They're going to think, this is going to continue going. And people that are going to stop, they're going to pull over to the side of the road, like we're advised to do when we have problems with our vehicles, right? But yeah, when you do an underpass, it just creates this very, very dangerous situation of a strong rear end collision.
Yep.
Not good at all.
No.
And it's not worth saving your car. You have insurance for a reason.
Yep.
I bought a hail damaged car at a great discount, by the way.
Oh,
but
you can't even tell. Can't even tell.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't really bother me.
No.
So, things can be fixed. Your car can be fixed. Your car can be replaced. You cannot. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
No. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Just keep on going. And honestly, if you're on an interstate, usually you're going to beat the storm because these storms don't move 80 miles per hour.
If you can outrun it, that's best. That's the best thing to do. If you can't, you know what to do after that. You get out, you get in the ditch if you can.
Yep.
Don't forget, and I didn't know this either, a lot of our rest stops, on the Illinois side especially, do have shelter that you can get into. So if you can find a rest stop, that's great. If you can pull off, find a gas station, find a convenience store, some kind of a brick and mortar building.
Yep. Usually
another
the
great
best.
option.
Yes. So,
Better
but
than
under an
nothing.
underpass, last thing you want to do.
Don't do it. Not worth it.
No. And you can get some funneled winds under there sometimes.
Big
which
increase.
Ooh,
Yeah.
no bueno.
Nope.
We got Billy. What's up, Billy? How are you, sir? With the 3 already out for tomorrow, is there a possibility of a level 4 risk? And when do we know about the SIGs for this situation?
So SIGs are already out.
Yes.
And we covered that this morning. Right now, EF0 to EF1, and I'll show you that here.
Yes.
There
Do you have
it
a
is.
SIG 1 on it?
Just the one.
Okay.
And there you see it, barely, just south of Interstate 80. There's the tornado potential intensity. I don't have the hail and wind SIGs on here yet. I can tell you the wind wasn't impressive, at least yet, but the hail,
Yep.
that potentially reaching greater than an inch. But we'll see. Could they add an EF2 to this tomorrow? Possibly down here. I would say south of Galesburg, Princeton, Key West,
I would
by
say Peoria area
Yeah.
is probably the best chance
Yeah.
for seeing that SIG 2.
Yeah.
But
But I don't see it coming this far north. Yeah.
this
at
is
least
your
not now.
typical EF0, EF1 setup.
Yeah.
Discrete tornadoes.
That's what I'm thinking as well. Good question.
Yep. We got, let's see who's up next. Michelle, what is the cap on these storms?
So a cap is what develops when you get a very warm day, like what we're going to see tomorrow. What can happen is sometimes you can get a layer of warm air just above the ground. So on an average day, as you go from the ground higher up into the atmosphere, the temperature falls. In this case, what happens is the temperature falls and then it starts rising again.
Yep.
So
Call an inversion.
yeah, and if you're a thunderstorm, that starts out as a little what we call an air parcel, which could be anything from a speck of dust to a water droplet. As that rises, once it hits the warm air, it can't go up any higher. So storms can't form. It gets lidded off, or a cap is in place.
Because it has to meet a certain dew point, or it has to be completely saturated. But once it meets that warm air, it's not going to be saturated anymore, which causes it to precipitate or fall back down.
And how will we see if there's a cap? The weather balloon launch tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m.
Big.
That's when we'll see if there's a cap in place.
We'll see it on the sounding. Models are showing it. We can look at model.
You can look at some model data
soundings
too.
that have it. Can't get those on here, but we can maybe try and maybe we'll do a little vertical video on that.
That's a good
Something
idea.
fun we can do after
we
this.
can explain that.
Little cap inversion. Anyways, that's what it is. Let's see. We got Tyler. What are the best threats of any severe weather looking like as of this morning for the Quad Cities? Could the level 3 threat get expanded a bit more north, infecting the entire QC? And what is the current highest threat for any severe weather?
So for us, it's mainly a hail and a wind and isolated tornado threat for the Quad Cities coming in tomorrow. Could that 3 get moved up? It could, again, if the warm front can make its way a little bit further to the north. Maybe low pressure tracks a little bit further to the northwest. That would drag the Iowa side closer to the front. That could increase your risk. That doesn't look like a for sure thing as of this morning, though. This definitely appears more Illinois focused rather than Iowa focused. But again, south of Mount Pleasant into Burlington, we can't rule out something forming there early and then moving over to the Illinois side. But I think, looking at everything this morning, you're looking at more western Illinois as opposed to Iowa.
Even to portions of northern Missouri. But I don't think Iowa's going to get as much of it. So Pete says, will there be a cap? Again, it's dependent, but it's definitely possible here with the system. Are there any hatched areas yet on any threats? And that's what those SIGs are now. So those replace the hatched areas, and they're all at a 1. So tornado's a 1 and a hail is a 1 on the hatch, and it's where you're seeing that 3, maybe into the 2 a little bit, but again, just a 1. Nothing significant.
The lowest tier.
The lowest tier at the bottom. It goes 1 to 3 with tornadoes, 1 and 2 with hail. So, and then possibly have a flash flood warning in the area. Yes, that is possible. Actually, I think I have the excessive rainfall outlook. We might have to change the day on it. I know I updated it yesterday. Somewhere in there. Oh, you might not have it in there.
Is it still in your show?
Yes.
Okay.
But we were at a 2 yesterday. I didn't see the update this morning. But I would guess it's probably still a 2 from what I've seen.
Yeah, I saw something come across my timeline this morning. I think that had that
should be in
there.
my main weather. Sorry, I have a little bit of a messy.
Oh, you're fine.
Graphics. We all have our own ways. Andrew's is very clean. Mine has like the typical ones that I use, and then some random ones that get thrown in. So I think it's right after Future Track.
There it is. Okay, so we're going to do this live here, so give us a second.
We're going to have to change the KML.
Oh, I have to copy it over to MySpace here. Not that MySpace, my workspace.
No.
MySpace.
Still use that?
I think it's gone. I don't think MySpace is around anymore.
So we're going to have to change the KML to just 2.
Boom.
Exactly. It's pretty much actually shifted a little bit further south. But that's what we're looking at. The level 2 out of 4 risk for excessive rainfall, 1 to 2 inches. If you get under those thunderstorms, that's where you see that potential for that 1 to 2 inches. And here's something to keep in mind. We have saturated ground. We haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, we had a recent heavy rain, which is still sitting kind of near the top. Like you said, it's saturated. So if you do get rounds of heavy rainfall, especially southeast, if you get a few rounds of storms, you could be dealing with some flash flooding.
Low-lying areas on the roads, just don't drive through them. It's not a good thing.
Some ditches could be full, and of course creeks and streams are going to rise a little bit if we see all that rain. But yeah, it's just common sense, Flooded roadway, we don't go over those.
Nope.
You gotta be in like a monster truck to be able to go over those.
Yeah.
And I don't know too many people that own monster trucks in the Quad Cities.
I don't think so.
There's a few that are close, but nobody has a true monster truck.
I like to consider that a monster truck. It really works well. It sells the kids at school visits. You want to see a monster truck?
We want to see the monster truck.
Works every time.
I love it.
Let's see. Danville, that's where they have a good area to be careful.
That's for sure,
Yeah, definitely need to. one more thing, all this rain will help with the drought, considering we don't have a lot of, or we didn't have a lot of snow. And yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, every little bit's going to help. I mean, it won't hurt the drought, that's for sure.
Yes.
It's nice to see that we're finally getting some rain.
Oh, I missed it.
We just don't want the severe weather.
No, we do not.
Yeah.
So we got question-wise.
We're all caught up. Okay. Yeah. We'll get to the morning meeting for the newsroom folks. We're going to brief them on what's going to come our way for tomorrow, what we've seen this morning, just like we've done with you. Except we're not going to go into as much detail because we tell them you need to be watching the 8+ app.
You got to watch the 8+ app.
Yeah. If you need the detail, you go to the app. So we're going to get that done. Reminder, Chief Meteorologist James Zahara will be in, of course, this evening tracking this during all of the newscasts. You've got his stream at 8 o'clock you can take advantage of. More streams coming your way tomorrow. Lots and lots to talk about.
A whole lot.
Yes. And you're coming up on the 11th.
Yep.
We'll get another new run of Future Track. I'm really interested to see what that says.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hopefully good.
We'll be waiting with bated breath as always.
Yes.
You guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll catch you later. Take care.